The single father stood in the pre-dawn darkness, his breath forming white clouds in the December air as he loaded boxes of donated Christmas decorations into the back of his battered pickup truck, wondering how he'd explain to his daughter that Santa might be bringing smaller presents this year. Nathan Lawson had been up since 4 a.m, preparing for another grueling shift at the construction site, but first he needed to drop off these decorations at the community center, where Emma, his 7-year-old daughter, attended after-school care. The director had asked for volunteers to help sort donations, and Nathan had agreed, even though every spare moment felt like a luxury he couldn't afford. His calloused hands arranged the boxes carefully, making sure nothing would shift during the drive through the snow-covered streets of Pinewood, Colorado. The truck's engine coughed twice before turning over, a sound that made Nathan's stomach clench with worry. He couldn't afford a breakdown, not with Christmas 2 weeks away and Emma's excitement building every single day. She'd been so understanding about their circumstances since her mother left 3 years ago, never complaining about hand-me-down clothes or the tiny apartment they called home. At 7 years old, she shouldn't have to be that mature, that aware of their financial struggles. Nathan drove slowly through the quiet streets, watching as the first hints of dawn painted the sky in shades of purple and gold. Snow had fallen steadily for the past 2 days, blanketing everything in pristine white, making even their modest neighborhood look magical. Emma loved the snow, loved everything about winter and Christmas, and Nathan was determined to make this holiday special for her, even if it meant working double shifts and surviving on coffee and determination. He pulled into the community center parking lot just as the sun began to rise, surprised to see another vehicle already there. A sleek black SUV sat near the entrance, looking completely out of place among the modest sedans and older trucks that usually filled this lot. Nathan grabbed 2 boxes from his truck bed and headed toward the building, his worn work boots crunching through the fresh snow. The community center's front door was unlocked, warm air rushing out to meet him as he stepped inside. He heard voices coming from the main hall, one of them belonging to Mrs. Patterson, the center's director, and another voice he didn't recognize. A woman's voice, soft but confident, asking questions about decoration plans and community needs. Nathan set his boxes down in the hallway and headed toward the voices, ready to help with whatever Mrs. Patterson needed. When he rounded the corner into the main hall, he stopped short, surprised by the sight before him. A woman stood near the stage, surrounded by what looked like hundreds of boxes and bags, all apparently delivered that morning. She was tall and elegant, wearing designer jeans and a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than Nathan's monthly rent. Her dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail that somehow looked effortlessly sophisticated. But what caught his attention wasn't her obvious wealth or beauty. It was the genuine warmth in her expression as she listened to Mrs. Patterson explain the center's holiday programs. "Nathan," Mrs. Patterson said, noticing him in the doorway. "Thank goodness you're here. We have quite a situation. Miss Morrison here has very generously donated all of these decorations and supplies, but I've just gotten a call that my mother fell, and I need to get to Denver right away. Would you be able to help Miss Morrison organize everything? I hate to ask, but there's no one else available this early." Nathan glanced at his watch, calculating how much time he had before his shift started. He could spare an hour, maybe 90 minutes if he pushed it. "Of course, Mrs. Patterson, don't worry about anything here. I hope your mother's okay." "Thank you, Nathan. You're a lifesaver, Mrs. Patterson grabbed her coat and purse, calling out last-minute instructions as she hurried toward the exit. "Miss Morrison has the layout plans I drew up. Just help her get started, and the regular volunteers will be in later this morning." Then they were alone, Nathan and this mysterious benefactor, standing in a hall filled with enough Christmas decorations to transform the entire building. The silence stretched for a moment before the woman smiled and extended her hand. "Please, call me Meredith, Meredith Ellis, and you're Nathan. Her handshake was firm, her palm soft but not delicate, and her eyes, a striking shade of green, held his gaze with an openness that immediately put him at ease. Nathan nodded, suddenly aware of his work-worn appearance, the permanent stain on his jacket, the scuff marks on his boots. "Nathan Lawson, I volunteer here sometimes. My daughter, Emma, she's in the after-school program." He gestured toward the boxes. "This is incredibly generous of you. The kids are going to be thrilled." Meredith's smile widened, lighting up her entire face. "I'm glad. I wanted to do something meaningful this year. Mrs. Patterson mentioned the center serves a lot of families, and I thought, well, everyone deserves a beautiful Christmas." There was something in the way she said it, a hint of wistfulness or maybe loneliness that made Nathan curious. But he didn't pry. Instead, he rolled up his sleeves and surveyed the collection before them. "So, where do we start?" They began by organizing the boxes by category: lights in one area, ornaments in another, outdoor decorations near the door. Nathan found himself impressed by Meredith's willingness to work. Despite her expensive clothes and manicured nails, she didn't hesitate to get down on her knees, sorting through boxes, checking items off the inventory list she'd apparently created. As they worked, they talked. Small talk at first, comments about the weather and the logistics of decorating such a large space. But gradually, the conversation deepened. Meredith asked about Emma, and Nathan's face lit up the way it always did when discussing his daughter. "She's 7, obsessed with books and art. Smart as a whip, too smart sometimes. She notices everything, feels everything deeply." Nathan paused, untangling a string of lights. "She's the reason I get up every morning, the reason I keep pushing forward no matter how hard things get." "It must be challenging, raising her on your own," Meredith said gently, not as a judgment but as an observation. Her mother left when Emma was 4. Said she couldn't handle the responsibility, the financial stress. Just packed her bags one day and moved to California with some guy she'd met online. Nathan's voice held no bitterness, only acceptance. "It was hard at first, really hard, but Emma and we figured it out together. We're a team." Meredith was quiet for a moment, carefully arranging ornaments in a storage bin. "She's lucky to have you. A father who shows up, who puts her first, that's everything." "What about you?" Nathan asked, realizing he'd been dominating the conversation. "Do you have kids?" A shadow passed across Meredith's face, so brief Nathan almost missed it. No children. I was married once briefly, but it didn't work out. He was more interested in my family's money than in building a life together." She shook her head, as if dispelling an unpleasant memory. "Now I focus on work and trying to make a positive impact where I can." "What kind of work do you do?" "I'm in finance, investments mostly. It's not particularly exciting to talk about." Meredith changed the subject smoothly, gesturing toward a box of outdoor decorations. "Should we start planning the exterior display? Mrs. Patterson mentioned wanting to create something special for the neighborhood." Nathan checked his watch and winced. He had 30 minutes before he needed to leave for work. "I can help you map it out, but I'll need to head out soon." "I've got a shift starting at 8. Construction, right? I noticed your work jacket." "Carpentry, specifically. I'm part of a crew that builds custom homes. It's good work when the weather cooperates, but winter can be slow." "We've been fortunate this year, got a big project that's keeping us busy through the holidays." They moved outside to survey the building's exterior, their breath visible in the cold morning air. Fresh snow had begun falling again, light flakes drifting down from a gray sky. Meredith pulled her coat tighter, but her eyes were bright with enthusiasm, as she described her vision for transforming the community center into a winter wonderland. "Lights along the roofline, wreaths on every window, maybe a big display near the entrance with a sleigh and reindeer," she said, pointing to different areas. "And over there, by that big pine tree, we could create a nativity scene or a Santa's workshop display." Nathan listened, mentally calculating the work involved. "It's ambitious. You'll need scaffolding for the roofline and someone who knows electrical to make sure everything's safely wired. Plus, in this weather, it's going to be challenging. Could you do it? Meredith asked suddenly, turning to face him. I mean, professionally, I could hire you to handle the installation. I'd pay your regular rate, of course, plus extra for the holiday timing and weather conditions. Nathan hesitated. The money would be incredibly helpful, but his schedule was already packed, and every moment away from Emma felt like a sacrifice. I appreciate the offer, but between my regular job and taking care of my daughter, I don't have much free time. What if we worked around your schedule? Early mornings, weekends, whenever you're available, and you could bring Emma if you needed to. I'd love to meet her. Meredith's expression was earnest, hopeful. Please, Nathan, I can tell you'd do it right, and honestly, I'd feel better working with someone I've met, someone Mrs. Patterson trusts. There was something about her sincerity. The way she acknowledged his time constraints without making him feel inadequate, that made Nathan reconsider. The extra money would ensure Emma got the Christmas she deserved, maybe even allow him to fix the truck properly instead of patching it together with hope and prayers. Okay, he said finally. But I'll need to bring Emma sometimes, and we'll have to work in stages, fitting it around my construction schedule. Meredith's smile was radiant, transforming her already beautiful face into something truly stunning. Perfect. Thank you, Nathan. This means so much to me. They exchanged phone numbers and agreed to meet the following morning to begin planning the installation in detail. Nathan hurried to his truck, already 10 minutes late for his shift, but feeling an unexpected lightness in his chest. As he drove toward the construction site, he found himself thinking about Meredith's green eyes and genuine smile, then immediately felt guilty for the thought. He didn't have time for romantic notions, didn't have the emotional energy to invest in anything beyond surviving and providing for Emma. That evening, after picking Emma up from the community center and making dinner in their small apartment, Nathan mentioned the decorating project. Emma's eyes went wide with excitement. Can I help? Please, Daddy. I could hand you things and be super helpful. We'll see, sweetheart. It depends on the weather and timing. Nathan smoothed her dark hair, so like his own. But yes, I think we can arrange for you to help sometimes. Emma threw her arms around his neck, squeezing tight. This is going to be the best Christmas ever. Nathan held his daughter close, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo, hoping he could deliver on that promise. He thought again of Meredith, wondering what had brought a woman of obvious means to volunteer at a modest community center in their working-class neighborhood. There was a story there, he sensed, layers beneath her polished exterior. The next morning arrived cold and clear, the snow from the previous day glittering under bright sunlight. Nathan had arranged to take a few hours off from his regular job, promising to make up the time over the weekend. He arrived at the community center to find Meredith already there, this time dressed more practically in insulated work pants and a heavy jacket, though both still bore designer labels. She'd brought coffee and pastries from an upscale bakery downtown, an expense Nathan would never have justified but greatly appreciated. They sat in her warm SUV, reviewing the plans she'd sketched out the night before, detailed drawings that showed real thought and creativity. You're quite the artist, Nathan observed, impressed by the precise measurements and notations. I minored in art history in college, though I've rarely had a chance to use it. Meredith pointed to the roofline. I was thinking we could alternate white and blue lights here, creating an icicle effect. And these wreaths, I found ones with built-in lights that should withstand the weather. They spent the morning taking measurements and mapping out electrical needs. Nathan was pleasantly surprised by Meredith's willingness to climb ladders and trudge through snow, documenting every detail. She asked intelligent questions about load-bearing capacity and power requirements, revealing a sharp mind behind the elegant exterior. Around noon, she insisted on buying lunch, leading him to a small diner a few blocks away. It was the kind of place Nathan frequented, with worn booths and a menu featuring comfort food at reasonable prices. He was surprised she'd chosen it over one of the trendy restaurants downtown. "Best pie in Pinewood," Meredith said, as if reading his thoughts. "I've been coming here since I arrived in town 2 months ago." 2 months? Are you new to the area? Relatively. I needed a change, wanted to get away from the city, from the constant noise and pressure. Pinewood seemed like the perfect place to start over, to figure out what I really want from life. She paused as the waitress brought their coffees. "Everyone here has been so welcoming, so genuine. It's refreshing." Nathan added cream to his coffee, considering her words. Starting over is brave. Most people stick with what they know, even when it makes them miserable. "Is that what you did? Started over after your wife left?" I didn't have much choice. It was either figure it out or fall apart, and falling apart wasn't an option with Emma depending on me. Nathan met her gaze across the table. But yes, in a way, it was starting over. Learning to be both parents, managing a household alone, discovering I was stronger than I thought. Their conversation flowed easily, moving from serious topics to lighter ones, sharing stories and laughing over silly anecdotes. Nathan found himself relaxing in a way he hadn't in years, enjoying adult conversation that didn't revolve around construction schedules or parent-teacher conferences. Meredith was intelligent and funny, self-deprecating despite her obvious success, genuinely interested in his perspectives and experiences. When he finally checked his watch, shocked to discover 2 hours had passed, Meredith insisted on driving him back to the community center to get his truck. "Same time tomorrow?" she asked hopefully. "We could start on the exterior lighting if the weather holds." "I'll bring Emma," Nathan warned. "It's Saturday and I don't have anyone to watch her. Even better, I'll bring supplies for hot chocolate." Over the following week, a routine developed. Nathan would meet Meredith in the early mornings or on weekends, sometimes with Emma in tow, sometimes alone. They worked steadily, transforming the community center's exterior one section at a time. The physical labor was demanding, especially in the cold, but Nathan found himself looking forward to these sessions in a way that had nothing to do with the generous payment Meredith insisted on providing. Emma adored Meredith immediately, drawn to her warmth and genuine interest. Meredith treated the 7-year-old with respect, never talking down to her, asking her opinions on color schemes and decoration placement. She brought art supplies one Saturday, and she and Emma created handmade ornaments while Nathan worked on the roofline installation. "You're really good with her," Nathan observed one afternoon, watching as Meredith helped Emma string popcorn for Garland, their heads bent together in concentration. "She's a wonderful child. You've done an amazing job raising her." Meredith glanced up, her expression soft. "She's creative and kind, confident but not spoiled. That's all because of you." Nathan felt heat rise in his cheeks at the compliment. "I just try to be there for her, to make her feel loved and secure." That's everything, Nathan. So many kids grow up with material wealth but emotional poverty. Emma has what matters most. There was a weight behind Meredith's words that made Nathan wonder about her own childhood, but he didn't press. They were becoming friends, maybe, but there were still boundaries, topics they skirted around. As the decorations took shape, the community center began to glow with holiday magic. Neighbors stopped to watch the progress. Children pressed their faces against the center's windows to see the transformation happening inside where volunteers were working on interior decorations. Mrs. Patterson, back from Denver with good news about her mother's recovery, was overwhelmed by the generosity and beauty of what was being created. "This is beyond anything I imagined," she told Nathan and Meredith one evening, tears in her eyes. "The families we serve, they're going to remember this Christmas forever." The week before Christmas, disaster struck. Nathan's truck finally gave up, the engine seizing completely in the community center parking lot. He stood staring at it, doing mental calculations he already knew wouldn't work. A new engine would cost thousands he didn't have, and even a used replacement was beyond his current means. "What's wrong, Daddy?" Emma asked, picking up on his tension. The "The truck's broken, sweetheart. It's going to need some expensive repairs." He forced a smile, not wanting to worry her. "But we'll figure it out. We always do." Meredith appeared beside them, having noticed them stranded in the parking lot. "Everything okay?" Nathan explained the situation, trying to keep his voice level professional. It was embarrassing, having his financial struggles on such obvious display in front of someone who probably spent more on coffee each month than he had in savings. "Let me drive you home," Meredith offered immediately, "and we can figure out the truck situation tomorrow." "I can't ask you to do that. We can call a cab or rideshare." "Nathan, please. We're friends, right? Friends help each other out." Her tone was gentle but firm, leaving no room for pride to get in the way. They loaded into her SUV, Emma chattering excitedly about a Christmas program at school while Nathan sat quietly, staring out the window. When Meredith pulled up to their apartment building, Nathan saw her take in the modest structure, the neighborhood that was safe but clearly working class. If she made any judgments, her face didn't show it. "Thank you for the ride," Nathan said, helping Emma out of the back seat. "I'll figure out transportation for finishing the decorating project. Might take me a few extra days, but I'll get it done." "Nathan, wait." Meredith turned off the engine and faced him. "Let me help. I can loan you money for the repairs, or we could arrange something through the decorating job, advance payment or something." "I can't take your money, Meredith. I appreciate the offer, really, but I've made it this far without charity." "I'll find a way." "It's not charity. It's a friend helping a friend, or if it makes you feel better, consider it a business investment. I need you to finish the project, and you need reliable transportation. It's logical." Nathan wanted to refuse, his pride demanding he solve this problem himself. But Emma was watching him with those big, trusting eyes, and he thought about the Christmas gifts he'd already bought on layaway, the small celebration he'd planned. If he had to pour money into the truck, all of that would disappear. "A loan," he said finally, "documented with a repayment plan. And we finish this decorating project to your complete satisfaction. Deal?" Meredith's smile was understanding. "Deal." That evening, alone in his apartment after Emma had gone to bed, Nathan felt the weight of everything pressing down on him. He'd worked so hard to build a stable life for his daughter, to prove he could provide for her without help. Accepting money from Meredith, even as a loan, felt like admitting defeat somehow. But as he looked around their small home, at the Christmas decorations Emma had made from construction paper and glitter, at the picture she'd drawn of the two of them holding hands under a Christmas tree, he knew he'd swallow his pride 1,000 times over to keep that smile on her face. His phone buzzed with a text from Meredith. A simple message: "You're doing great. Emma is lucky to have you. Sleep well." Nathan stared at those words for a long time, feeling something shift in his chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with gratitude for financial help, and everything to do with the woman who'd sent the message. The next day, Meredith arranged for Nathan's truck to be towed to the best mechanic in town, someone she knew personally who owed her a favor. The repairs would take 3 days, but the mechanic promised to have it running better than it had in years. In the meantime, Meredith picked Nathan up each morning, and they continued working on the community center together. The proximity, spending hours together each day, began to change things between them. The conversations went deeper, the comfortable silences felt more intimate. Nathan learned that Meredith's father had built a financial empire from nothing, that she'd grown up wealthy but lonely, that her brief marriage had been to a man her father approved of rather than someone she loved. She'd spent years trying to prove herself in the family business, only to realize she was chasing someone else's dream. "So I walked away," she told Nathan one morning as they strung lights along the entrance archway. "Took my trust fund and inheritance, moved to a place where no one knew my name, and decided to figure out who Meredith Ellis actually is beneath all the expectations and pressure." "That must have taken incredible courage," Nathan said. "Giving up everything familiar, or incredible cowardice." Sometimes I think I was just running away from responsibility, from the hard work of trying to fix things in Seattle. No, Nathan said firmly. Running away would be quitting on yourself. You're rebuilding, creating a life that means something to you. That's brave. Meredith looked at him with such gratitude and something else, something deeper, that Nathan felt his breath catch. The moment stretched between them, fragile and filled with possibility, until Emma called out from inside the building, breaking the spell. That evening, with the exterior decorations nearly complete, they stood back to admire their work. The community center glowed with thousands of lights, every window decorated, the entrance framed by an elaborate display featuring a handcrafted sleigh and reindeer that Nathan had built from donated materials. It was stunning, a beacon of hope and joy in the neighborhood. "We did it," Meredith breathed, her face illuminated by the colorful lights. "Nathan, it's perfect." "We made a good team," he agreed, acutely aware of how close she was standing, how the cold air made her cheeks flush pink, how beautiful she looked in that moment. Emma ran up to them, grabbing both their hands. "It's magical. Daddy, Miss Meredith, you made everything magical." Looking down at his daughter's joyful face, then across at Meredith's warm smile, Nathan felt something he hadn't experienced in years, pure, uncomplicated happiness. And beneath that, something else growing, a feeling he wasn't quite ready to name but couldn't deny. On the evening of the community center's Christmas celebration, Nathan picked Emma up from school, helped her into the new dress Meredith had quietly bought for her, claiming it was a thank-you gift for being such a good helper, and drove his newly repaired truck to the event. The entire neighborhood turned out, families bundled in winter coats, children running excitedly from display to display. Mrs. Patterson made a speech thanking the anonymous donor who'd made everything possible, though Nathan noticed several people glancing at Meredith, who stood quietly at the back of the crowd. There was caroling and hot chocolate, a visit from Santa, and joy radiating from every corner of the transformed building. Nathan found Meredith standing alone near the big pine tree, watching the celebration with a wistful expression. He approached slowly, suddenly nervous in a way that had nothing to do with their friendship and everything to do with the feelings he'd been trying to ignore. "You should be up there getting recognition for all of this," he said, gesturing toward the stage where Mrs. Patterson was coordinating the children's choir. "This isn't about recognition. It's about giving these families a beautiful memory, showing these kids that people care about them." Meredith turned to him, her eyes bright. "Thank you for helping me create this, Nathan." "I couldn't have done it without you." "Meredith, I need to tell you something." Nathan took a breath, gathering his courage. "These past few weeks, working with you, getting to know you, it's been more than just a job or even a friendship. You've become important to me, to Emma. And I'm pretty sure that I'm falling for you." He watched emotions flicker across her face, surprise, joy, uncertainty. "Nathan, I feel the same way, but I haven't been completely honest with you about who I am." Nathan's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "My family, the Ellis family, we're not just comfortable or well off. We're wealthy, Nathan, billionaire wealthy. My father founded Ellis Financial Group. I didn't tell you because I wanted you to know me, just Meredith, not all the baggage that comes with that name and that money." Nathan took a step back, processing this information. He'd known she had money, but this was on a completely different scale. "Why are you telling me now?" "Because I can't start something real with you based on partial truths. If we're going to explore these feelings, you need to know everything." Meredith's voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. "My net worth is measured in hundreds of millions. I own properties around the world. I could buy anything, go anywhere, do anything. But none of that matters if I'm alone, if I don't have genuine connection with people who see me for who I really am. And you think I can't handle dating someone wealthy, that I'll feel inadequate or intimidated. I think you're proud, Nathan, and rightfully so. You've built a life for Emma through hard work and sacrifice. I worried that knowing about my wealth would change how you see me, make you uncomfortable, or resentful. Nathan was quiet for a long moment, watching Emma play with other children near the hot chocolate station. "You're right that I'm proud. I've had to be to survive, to raise Emma alone, but I'm not so proud that I can't see past someone's bank account to who they really are." He turned back to Meredith. "You've been kind and generous, not in a showy way, but genuinely caring. You got down on your knees in the snow to build something beautiful for people you don't even know. You treated my daughter with respect and affection. That's who you are, Meredith. The money is just a detail." "Is it, though? Nathan, the reality of my life, it's complicated. There's media attention sometimes, family expectations, a whole world that you and Emma would be pulled into. I need you to really think about whether that's something you want." "What I want," Nathan said, stepping closer, "is to spend more time with the woman who makes me laugh, who sees the value in community and connection, who treats my daughter like she matters. What I want is to explore these feelings and see where they lead. The rest we'll figure out together if you're willing." Meredith's smile was tremulous, hopeful. "I'm willing. More than willing." They stood there, snow beginning to fall again, the lights from the community center casting a warm glow around them, something significant settling into place. It wasn't a perfect fairy tale moment because real life was messier than that, but it was real and honest and full of possibility. Emma spotted them and came running over, breathless with excitement. "Daddy, Santa gave me a candy cane. And Miss Meredith, I saw you talking to Mrs. Patterson. Are you going to come to our house for Christmas? Please say yes." Nathan and Meredith exchanged glances, and he saw his own emotions reflected in her eyes, nervousness and joy and hope all tangled together. "If your dad says it's okay, I'd love to," Meredith said softly. "It's more than okay," Nathan confirmed, and Emma squealed with delight, hugging them both. The days leading up to Christmas became a whirlwind of activity. Nathan returned to his regular construction work, but his evenings were spent with Meredith and Emma, establishing routines that felt remarkably natural. They cooked dinner together in his small kitchen, Meredith proving surprisingly adept, despite admitting she'd grown up with personal chefs. They watched holiday movies with Emma snuggled between them. They talked after Emma went to bed, sharing more of their histories, their hopes, their fears. Nathan learned that Meredith's mother had died when she was young, that she'd been raised by nannies and boarding schools, that her father showed love through monetary gifts rather than time or affection. She'd spent her 20s trying to earn his approval, working brutal hours in the family business, dating men he selected, slowly losing herself in the process. "My ex-husband, Derek, he was perfect on paper," she told Nathan one evening, curled up on his worn couch with mugs of tea. "Harvard-educated, from an old money family, ambitious and charming, but he never really saw me. I was a trophy, a connection to my father's business empire. When I suggested starting a family, he told me it would interfere with his career trajectory. When I talked about maybe doing something philanthropic with my inheritance, he suggested I was being naive." "What finally made you leave him?" Nathan asked, his arm resting along the back of the couch, not quite touching her but close enough to offer comfort. "I overheard him on the phone with a friend, laughing about being married to an Ellis, how he'd essentially won the lottery. He called me boring and said once he made partner at his firm, he'd probably look for entertainment elsewhere." Meredith's voice was matter-of-fact, but Nathan could hear the old hurt beneath the words. "I filed for divorce the next day, best decision I ever made." "He's an idiot," Nathan said simply. "You're not boring, you're thoughtful and creative and genuine. Anyone who couldn't see that doesn't deserve you." Meredith leaned into him then, resting her head on his shoulder, and Nathan wrapped his arm around her, marveling at how right it felt to hold her. They were taking things slowly, mindful of Emma's presence and the newness of their relationship. But the attraction between them was undeniable, building in stolen glances and brief touches, in goodnight hugs that lasted a moment too long. Nathan found himself thinking about Meredith constantly, missing her when they were apart, looking forward to every text and phone call. On Christmas Eve, Meredith arrived at their apartment with bags of groceries and supplies, insisting on cooking a proper holiday dinner. Emma helped enthusiastically, standing on a step stool to stir ingredients and taste test everything. Nathan watched them work together, the easy affection between them, and felt his heart expand with a love so intense it almost frightened him. After dinner, they decorated the small Christmas tree Nathan had bought from a church fundraiser, Emma placing each ornament with careful consideration. Many of them were handmade, created during lean years when store-bought decorations weren't in the budget, and Nathan felt a moment of self-consciousness about their shabby appearance. But Meredith handled each one with reverence, asking Emma about their origins, admiring her artistry. "This one's my favorite," Emma announced, holding up a lopsided star made from popsicle sticks and glitter. "Daddy and I made it the Christmas after Mommy left. I was sad, but Daddy said we could make our own traditions, just the two of us." "It's beautiful," Meredith said, helping Emma place it at the top of the tree. "Some of the best things are the ones we make ourselves, with love." After Emma was tucked into bed, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit and barely able to contain her excitement about Santa's impending arrival, Nathan and Meredith sat together on the couch, the apartment lit only by the soft glow of the Christmas tree lights. "I got you something," Meredith said, pulling a small wrapped box from her purse. "I hope it's not too much." Nathan took the box carefully, surprised by its weight. Inside was a beautiful watch, simple and elegant, clearly expensive but not ostentatiously so. The back was engraved with the words, "Time spent together is never wasted. Christmas 2023. Meredith, this is too much. I can't accept something this expensive. Please, Nathan, I wanted to give you something meaningful, something that represents what these past weeks have meant to me." She touched his hand gently. "You've given me so much more than you realize. You've shown me what real strength looks like, what genuine love and commitment mean. You've welcomed me into your life and let me be part of Emma's world. This is nothing compared to that." Nathan swallowed hard, emotions threatening to overwhelm him. "I have something for you too, though it's nowhere near as fancy." He retrieved a small wrapped package from behind the couch. Emma helped me pick it out. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with 3 charms, a heart, a snowflake, and a small house. Meredith's eyes filled with tears as she examined each one. "The heart is for what I'm feeling. The snowflake is for the day we met, when it was snowing and you were standing in that hall surrounded by decorations. And the house," Nathan paused, gathering his courage. "The house is for the home you've helped create, not just at the community center but here with Emma and me. You've made us feel like a family again." "Nathan," Meredith whispered, and then she was kissing him, soft and sweet and full of promise. Nathan responded, pulling her closer, pouring everything he felt into that kiss, all the longing and hope and love that had been building between them. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Meredith smiled. "Best Christmas present ever." They talked until nearly 2 a.m, making plans and sharing dreams, agreeing to continue taking things slowly for Emma's sake, but acknowledging that this was becoming something serious, something lasting. Nathan walked Meredith to her car, kissing her goodnight under a sky full of stars, snowflakes drifting down around them like a blessing. Christmas morning arrived with Emma bouncing on Nathan's bed at 6 o'clock, her excitement impossible to contain. They opened presents together, Emma squealing over the art supplies and books Nathan had carefully selected, over the beautiful wooden dollhouse Meredith had commissioned from a local craftsman. It was perfect, detailed and sturdy, the kind of quality toy that would last for years. "This is too much," Nathan started to say, but Meredith shook her head. "Emma told me she wanted a dollhouse more than anything. Let me do this, Nathan. Let me be part of making her Christmas special." Throughout the day, they established new traditions. Making pancakes together, watching holiday movies, taking a walk through the snowy neighborhood. Meredith fit seamlessly into their lives, and Emma blossomed under the attention of both adults, secure and happy in a way Nathan hadn't seen since before her mother left. That evening, after Emma had finally crashed from excitement and was sleeping soundly, Nathan and Meredith sat together on the couch again, comfortable and content. "I need to go back to Seattle in a few days," Meredith said quietly. "There are some business matters I need to handle, family obligations I've been avoiding. But Nathan, I want you to know that I'm coming back. Pinewood is my home now. You and Emma are my home." "How long will you be gone?" "A week, maybe 2 at most. I need to have some difficult conversations with my father, settle some things with the business. And I want to start the process of officially relocating, selling my properties there, making the move to Colorado permanent." Nathan pulled her closer, kissing the top of her head. "We'll be here when you get back. Emma's going to miss you like crazy. I'm going to miss you like crazy. I'm going to miss you both too, but this is important. I need to close the door on that chapter of my life properly so I can fully commit to this new one." They spent Meredith's last evening in Pinewood making dinner together, playing board games with Emma, creating memories to sustain them through the coming separation. When it was time for Meredith to leave, Emma clung to her, making her promise to call every day. "I promise, sweet girl. And I'll be back before you know it." Meredith hugged Emma tight, then straightened and looked at Nathan. "Walk me out." At her car, they held each other for a long moment, the cold night air swirling around them. "Be safe," Nathan said. "And remember, whatever you're facing there, you've got people here who care about you, who are rooting for you." "I love you," Meredith said, the words tumbling out before she could second-guess them. "I know it's soon, and maybe I shouldn't say it yet, but I do. I love you, Nathan Lawson." Nathan's smile was brilliant, transforming his usually serious face. "I love you too, Meredith Ellis. Have for a while now, if I'm being honest." They kissed one more time, long and deep and full of promise, before Meredith finally drove away, her taillights disappearing into the snowy night. The next 2 weeks were challenging. Nathan missed Meredith constantly, but they talked every evening on video calls, Emma chattering about her day before Nathan would take the phone into his room for private conversations that stretched late into the night. Meredith described her meetings with her father, tense conversations about her decision to step away from active involvement in the family business, to focus on philanthropic work instead. "He doesn't understand," she told Nathan one night, her face pixelated on his phone screen. "He thinks I'm throwing away my potential, being selfish and naive. But I tried explaining that I've discovered what really brings me joy, creating connections and supporting communities, making a difference in people's lives, not just accumulating more wealth. Does his approval matter to you?" Nathan asked gently. Meredith was quiet for a moment. "Yes and no. I'd love for him to understand and support my choices, but I'm not going to sacrifice my happiness for his vision of success anymore. I've spent too many years doing that already." "I'm proud of you," Nathan said. "Standing up for yourself, choosing your own path, that takes real courage. I learned it from you, watching how you've built a life for Emma despite all the challenges, how you've never compromised on what matters most. You inspire me, Nathan." On the 12th day of Meredith's absence, she called with exciting news. "I'm coming home tomorrow. I've settled everything here, had the difficult conversations, started the process of relocating officially. And Nathan, I've been thinking about something. There's a property for sale in Pinewood, a beautiful old house with lots of land. I'm thinking of buying it, creating a permanent home base there. What do you think?" "I think Pinewood is lucky to have you as a permanent resident," Nathan said, his heart soaring at the news. "Emma's going to be thrilled. I'm thrilled." "There's something else," Meredith continued, her voice nervous. "I've been talking to Mrs. Patterson about expanding the community center programs, maybe creating a foundation to support families in need year-round, not just at holidays. I'd love your input on the plans if you're interested." "Of course I'm interested. Meredith, what you're doing is amazing." The next evening, Nathan and Emma waited at the community center, where Meredith had asked them to meet her. When she arrived, Emma launched herself into Meredith's arms, chattering nonstop about everything that had happened during the separation. Nathan hung back, giving them their moment, content to watch the two people he loved most reconnecting. Finally, Meredith looked up, meeting his gaze over Emma's head, and the love in her eyes took his breath away. She set Emma down and walked to him, and Nathan pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "Welcome home," he murmured against her hair. "It's good to be home," she replied. Over the following months, they built a life together, taking each day as it came. Meredith bought the property she'd mentioned, a beautiful Victorian house on the edge of town with enough space for gardens and maybe, someday, a family. Nathan and Emma spent weekends there, helping with renovations, choosing paint colors, making the house a home. Emma thrived, blossoming under the love and attention of two adults who prioritized her well-being and happiness. She never called Meredith Mom, and Meredith never pushed for that title, content to be an important, loving presence in Emma's life however the child wanted to define it. Nathan's construction business expanded, thanks in part to Meredith's connections, but mostly due to his talent and reputation for quality work. He hired 2 employees, allowing him more flexibility in his schedule, more time for the things and people that mattered most. The foundation Meredith established became a model for community support, providing resources for families struggling with housing, education, healthcare, and childcare costs. Nathan served on the board, his first-hand experience with financial hardship providing valuable perspective. They worked side by side, united in their mission to make a real difference. One evening in late spring, nearly 6 months after they'd first met, Nathan took Meredith to the community center, now quiet and empty after the day's programs had ended. He led her to the main hall where they'd first worked together, surrounded by those boxes of Christmas decorations that had started everything. "I've been thinking about something," Nathan said, taking both of her hands in his. "About timing and rushing and doing things the right way. And I realized that there's no perfect timeline for love. No rule book that says you have to wait a certain amount of time before you know someone is meant to be in your life forever." Meredith's eyes widened, her breath catching as Nathan dropped to one knee. "Meredith Ellis, you walked into my life when I least expected it, and you've changed everything. You've shown me that asking for help isn't weakness, that opening my heart again isn't dangerous, that love can be partnership and friendship and passion all rolled into one incredible package. You've been amazing with Emma, loving her and supporting her without trying to replace her mother. You've made me believe in possibilities again, in dreams beyond just surviving day to day." Nathan pulled a small box from his pocket, opening it to reveal a simple but beautiful ring. "I'm not a billionaire, and I can't offer you a life of luxury, but I can offer you real love, commitment, partnership in building something meaningful together. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Meredith's face as she nodded emphatically. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." "Nathan, you've already given me everything that matters. You've given me a home, a family, a sense of purpose and belonging I never had before. I love you so much." Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that was witnessed only by the empty hall and the lingering magic of the Christmas lights that had brought them together. They married 6 months later, in the late fall, in a simple ceremony at the community center surrounded by friends and neighbors, and the families they'd helped through the foundation. Emma served as maid of honor, beaming with pride in her beautiful dress, thrilled to officially become part of a family that had been forming around her for nearly a year. Nathan's vows spoke of unexpected gifts and second chances, of a woman who saw past circumstances to worth, who loved without condition or judgment. Meredith's vows promised partnership and support, celebration of individuality within the context of family, commitment to building a life based on love rather than expectation. There was no media circus, no society page coverage, just genuine joy and celebration among people who understood what really mattered. As Nathan and Meredith danced their first dance as husband and wife, Emma standing with Mrs. Patterson and beaming at them, he thought about that snowy morning nearly a year ago when he'd volunteered to help sort Christmas decorations, never imagining it would lead to this moment. "What are you thinking about?" Meredith asked, resting her head on his shoulder as they swayed to the music. "About fate and timing, and how sometimes the best things come from the most unexpected places," Nathan replied. "About how a poor dad helping with Christmas decorations ended up finding his soulmate." Meredith laughed, the sound full of joy. "I was never looking for a hero when I came to Pinewood. I was looking for myself, for meaning and purpose, but I found so much more. I found love and family and a place to belong." "We found each other," Nathan corrected. "Everything else came from that." 2 years later, they welcomed twin boys into their family, Jacob and James, and Emma proved to be an enthusiastic and helpful big sister. The Victorian house rang with laughter and noise, with art projects and construction experiments, with bedtime stories and family dinners. Meredith continued her foundation work, expanding into education scholarships and small business grants, using her wealth to create opportunities rather than simply providing handouts. Nathan's business thrived, known throughout the region for quality craftsmanship and fair treatment of employees. They returned to the community center every year to help with Christmas decorations, making it a family tradition, teaching their children about service and gratitude, about seeing beyond surfaces to recognize the worth in every person. Emma, now a confident teenager with artistic talent and her father's work ethic, often led the decorating efforts, carrying on the legacy of that first magical Christmas. On their 5th wedding anniversary, as they stood together watching their children play in the snow-covered yard of their Victorian house, Nathan pulled Meredith close. "Any regrets?" he asked, not seriously but wanting to hear her answer. "Not a single one," Meredith replied firmly. "You know, people used to tell me that money could buy anything, but they were wrong. Money can't buy genuine love or real family or the feeling of coming home to people who love you for exactly who you are. That's priceless." "I'm the lucky one," Nathan insisted. "A beautiful, brilliant woman walked into my life and saw past a struggling carpenter to someone worth loving." "No," Meredith corrected, turning to face him, her hands resting on his chest. "We're both lucky. We found each other when we each needed someone to believe in, to build a life with, to love without reservation. That's the real gift." They kissed as snow began to fall, their children's laughter echoing around them, the lights from their home casting a warm glow into the gathering dusk. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, because real life was more complex and beautiful than any fairy tale. It was 2 people who'd found each other in unexpected circumstances, who'd chosen to build something real and lasting, who'd created a family based on love rather than obligation or expectation. Inside the house, hot chocolate waited on the stove. Christmas decorations, many of them handmade over the years, adorned every room. Photos covered the walls, documenting their journey from that first meeting in the community center to this moment, this life they'd built together. Emma called out to them from the front porch, asking if they could put up the outdoor lights tomorrow, maybe recreate that first magical Christmas display. Nathan and Meredith exchanged glances, remembering those early days of working side by side, falling in love amid strings of lights and winter snow. "Absolutely," Meredith called back. "Family project, everyone helps." As they headed inside, Nathan caught Meredith's hand, intertwining their fingers. She squeezed back, a silent communication of love and commitment and partnership that needed no words. Behind them, their footprints in the snow marked their path to the warm house, to the family waiting inside, to the life they'd created together from hope and hard work, and a chance meeting on a snowy morning. The community center's decorations had brought them together. But it was the foundation they'd built afterward, on honesty and respect and genuine affection, that had created this beautiful, complicated, perfectly imperfect life. And as Nathan closed the door behind them, sealing in warmth and laughter and love, he sent up a silent thank you for broken trucks and Christmas decorations, for generous donors and community centers, for the unexpected ways that life brings people together when they're brave enough to take a chance on love. Years would pass, children would grow, challenges would come and be overcome, but the foundation they'd built that first Christmas would remain strong, a testament to the power of seeing beyond circumstances to recognize worth, of choosing love over pride, of building a life based on what really matters. And every Christmas, when they returned to the community center to help with decorations, they'd remember that sometimes the most precious gifts come wrapped in the most unexpected packages, and that love, real love, is worth more than all the money in the world.